Welcome to the Westwood Planning Board meeting. The chair will call the meeting to order with a roll call vote. Ellen? Phil?
Here.
Josh?
Here.
Kate?
Here.
And I'm Chris Paff. I'll be chairing tonight's meeting. All meetings are video recorded by Westwood Media Center. If anyone else wishes to record the meeting, please identify yourself by raising your hand. I don't see anyone raising their hand, so we'll move on. This meeting is filmed live by Westwood Media Center's Westwood Media Center on their YouTube channel, local government channel, Comcast channel 12, and Verizon channel 42. As a friendly reminder, please turn off your cell phone ringers and remain on mute while not speaking to assist with clear audio. The meeting will be civil and all people will be treated respectfully. The format of the meeting will be the chair will announce the agenda item and the applicant will introduce themselves and team members. The applicant will present to the board will proceed to staff comments, and the board will discuss and may ask questions of the applicant. The chair will then seek public comments. For public hearing items, the public will be given an opportunity to comment and to ask questions by asking participants to raise their hand in the Zoom and waiting to be unmuted. In Zoom, you may use the raise the hand feature by pressing *9 if dialing in by phone, or you may put a question in the Q&A that the chair will read. Items that are not a public hearing, the opportunity for public participation will be at the discretion of the board, and it is recommended to place your question in the Q&A for the chair to consider. When it's time for the public comment period, the chair will ask everyone to please identify yourself by stating your name and address. Please direct all comments and questions through the chair. All votes will be taken by roll call vote. All people will be given the opportunity to speak or ask questions for public hearing items, but in the interest of time and fairness, personal, repetitive, or off-topic comments may be cut short. In the event of a disruption, the chair will mute the individual and a warning given. If the disruption occurs again, the individual will be removed from the meeting. No, I think that's it. It seems new. It seemed like that happened last time too, right? Was that a different one?
Might have been. I don't.
Right.
Sound different.
You keep throwing curveballs at me.
I didn't look at it. So Tiana put that in the
Right.
meeting packet. I assumed it was the current one, but I don't know.
Okay. There was another one in the packet somewhere. I saw it, a separate one that I think was worded slightly different.
Okay.
It's okay. It just, you get into a rhythm after reading it for a few times, and then when you throw something different, it just changes it up. Is the agenda the same? Any changes?
Just one change under item number 7, introduction of new planning staff. I'd like to take that out of order, and then we'll start again at 1.
Sure.
So I'd like to introduce you to Grant McGregor. Grant started with us last week. He's our planning administrator for housing and land use. He comes to us most recently from the town of Dalton. He has a master's degree in geography and a certificate in GIS, and he served for a year as the town planner out in Dalton before coming here. So I'd like to ask you to all welcome Grant. He's a great addition to our staff.
I'm happy to be here.
Welcome.
I've been welcome so far. I'm learning a little bit about the town, and we're taking it day by day. So I think I'll have some more knowledge for the next meeting, and I'll be a little more active there.
Great.
Welcome again.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Yeah. We are a small town, but there is a lot to learn about us, as I'm sure there is for all towns. Anyway, welcome. So Nora, what is first on tonight's agenda?
So first you have a joint public hearing with the Westwood tree warden, Karen Skinner-Catroni, who I tried to promote. Karen, could you accept the promotion to panelist so you can join us? This is a hearing for consideration of scenic road approval for the removal of approximately 35 trees within the public right-of-ways of Downey Street and Canton Street. And it's a project that's undertaken by DPW for a sidewalk improvement project. The hearing notice for a scenic road that involves tree removals has to be posted to the trees. Karen was under the impression it had to be posted for 30 days. That was the information given to her by the prior town planner. So it's been posted, but it wasn't posted until January 3rd. So I'd like to ask you to continue this hearing until February 7th and ask the tree warden, Karen, to also continue her hearing. It's a joint hearing between the planning board and the tree warden. Take it up on February 7th. By that time, the posting will have been up for more than 30 days and notice will have gone out to all the abutters within 1,000 feet of the tree removal. So there's no need to discuss the application at all. It would just be an immediate continuance.
Okay. We'll take a motion to continue this.
So let me share my screen with the
Do you have
motion so
language?
that we get get the language correct. Just give me 1 second. Can you see that?
Yep.
All right, so it'll be that first motion there.
So seeing it is not the same as there we go.
Good point.
I, Kate Wynn, move that the planning board and Westwood tree warden continue the public hearing for the scenic road approval application for the proposed removal of approximately 35 trees within the public right-of-ways of Downey Street and Canton Street to Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 at 7 p.m. via Zoom, where a Zoom link and associated call-in numbers will be provided on town's calendar on the homepage at https://// www.townhall.westwood.ma.us.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on continuation? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Phil?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
Ellen?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So
And on
we'll
this
see
one,
that.
we also need to
Oh, sorry.
vote from the tree warden, Karen Skinner-Catroni.
Oh, my apologies. Karen, want to weigh in?
I don't get to vote very often, so yes, I agreed to continue the hearing to February 7th, 2023 at 7 o'clock p.m. via Zoom.
Terrific.
Great.
Okay.
We'll see you then.
that-
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank
You
you,
too.
Karen. All right, now the next application is a public hearing for consideration of a wireless communication overlay district minor wireless EIDR review for the addition of antennas for Dish Wireless on the existing cell tower at 100-200 Louderbrook Road. So I believe Katie Adams is the applicant. I will promote Katie to a panelist so she can discuss the application. And Katie, if you can tell me if there's anyone else on your team that you'd like me to bring over, just let me know their names.
I was having a hard time there for a second. Hi,
Is there anyone
everyone.
else?
No, it's just me tonight.
Okay. All right, well, you have the ability to share your screen if you want to show your
Sure.
plans to the board.
Yeah, let's see here. I'm gonna do this one. I have some plans and I have some photo simulation. So let me know if you can see my screen.
We can.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Dish Wireless. They're kind of new to the wireless industry. When the T-Mobile and Sprint merger was happening, the FCC basically said, no, you have to have a fourth major player to prevent, certain carriers from monopolizing the customers in the area. So Dish said, okay. T-Mobile said, okay, we're going to appoint Dish as the fourth major player, gave them the rights to frequencies, and now they are building their network, which is why we're here. So Dish is looking to put, let me find the best picture to show you. 3 antennas up on the tower below all the other carriers. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I know my screen's kind of small, so I apologize. So they're looking to install 3 panel antennas, one per sector. So, around the pole at 93-foot height. They are going to install 1 hybrid cable, which is just a power and a fiber cable. And then that cable runs down to the ground equipment. And the ground equipment for Dish sits on a steel platform that just sets on the ground. There's no digging involved to install it. I'm just going to show you this picture. This is if you were looking at a bird's eye view at the top of the pole, the way that they're mounted. This is the pole here in the middle. And then there's just an antenna kind of coming off each side. Let me get you a good picture of the ground space. Oh, sorry. I have an 8-month-old puppy who barks at everything. All right, we're gonna go to the enlarged site plan over here. So Dish takes up, they are always looking for a 5x7 footprint. Their antenna configuration and the ground equipment configuration is pretty much the same across the board on all sites. So if you ever see another Dish application, it'll probably be the same thing. They take up usually 5x7 is the platform, whereas a lot of the other carriers have really big shelters, the 12x20 or 10x20. But this steel platform sets right on the ground, and then on top of that is all of their equipment. Like they have their the cabinet there that powers everything up, and that sits on one corner of the platform. And it's a very minor installation compared to some of the other carriers that go up, because they do take up such a small amount of space. And then we did have couple of photo simulations put together. So this is the tower before Dish, right here. And then this is kind of what it would look like after Dish's installation. And then I'll just have it here from another view. This is before Dish, and that would be after Dish. So they're just above the tree line. Are there any pages on the construction drawings that you guys want to see? Is there anything you want me to zoom in on?
Do you have a picture of the base currently?
Yeah, I do. It's not very clear. So right now, if you ignore all these little bubbles, this is what the base of the tower looks like. It's this cement area right here, or that might actually be gravel, but Dish, their equipment frame is going to be just on this side of the pole, up by the fence. I don't think there are any more photos of what the ground space looks like here.
So it's inside that fence.
Yep, it's staying within inside the fenced compound. There's not going to be any size increases or space increases on the ground. No need for tree removal or anything like that.
Is there a way you can quickly explain, and maybe if you can go back to the proposed picture? I'm just curious why dishes protrude out from the center monopole so much farther than the others, or at least the two above, or I guess 3 of the 4 above.
Yeah, so the reason that they're doing, from what I understand, the reason they're using this type of mount, number one is structurally it puts less of less onto the tower. Structurally, the weight and the wind and all that, I'm not an engineer. I don't understand how people run structural analysis, but that does come into play here. And then the other part is because you know how carriers are constantly modifying their equipment. They're taking down antennas, putting up antennas, taking down radios, putting up radios. The goal here is to not have to change the mount when Dish in the future decides, okay, we need to modify our equipment. Antennas get bigger, they get heavier, they may need to add more. And at that time, a lot of, if we were working on, say, like an AT&T project, the mount wouldn't be able to support it. They would have to put up a larger mount. They would have to put up, and this is to sort of be proactive about what needs to be done on the tower in the future.
Okay.
So this is the mount that they chose, they think is the best fit for all of those things combined.
And how new is Dish to the industry?
So they entered the wireless industry in July of 2020. Our favorite year.
So these have been popping up. They've been using this mounting.
Yes, they
the
have.
same in all of them.
For the most part, yeah. On most of these monopole towers, they'll look a little different on like the lattice self-support towers. But on the monopoles, these are the type of mounts that they've been using. Obviously, they're, if it was like a stealth monopole or a monopine, it may look a little bit different, but on a basic monopole, this is the type that they've been using.
Okay. Nora, do we have any other Dish poles in town?
So we don't yet. There was one other application that was filed for a building permit to add dish antennas to the stealth monopole at the First Baptist Church at 808 High Street.
I have that application. We've been waiting for them to get us a propagation map.
Okay.
So that one's on hold.
That was like a year and a half ago. Seems like it was a while ago.
So the application for a building permit was filed in May, and it actually expired. So that application is no longer valid, but when that building permit application was filed, we let Dish, I think it was Daryl Gresham, I think was the applicant that had applied.
That sounds right, yeah.
We let him know that he had to file with the planning board because Dish is a new carrier in Westwood and new on that pole. So the first time an antenna, a communication facility is added, it has to go through the planning board for EIDR approval. So once you get an application in, we'll take a look at that. Now, I did notice the radio frequency maps, the before and after. The after assumes that facility is in place. So if you look at that in your planning board members in your packet, you'll see that the after map shows not just this wireless facility at 100, 200 Louderburg, but it also shows picking up the signal from a facility at 808 High Street.
Yeah, so this is where are we here?
Right there.
Yep, right here.
Mhm. So that shows the one at the center of your screen right now is the one we're talking about, and the one at the lower left.
This one is 808 High.
Proposed at 808 High.
Okay. All right. I don't mean to monopolize the conversation. Any other planning board members with questions for the applicant or comments?
Yeah, the pictures that are a little bit stepping back on the tree line versus where the platform where it will be identified. Something that just is a little bit more removed so you could see it a little bit.
Unfortunately, these were the only photo sims that they put together for me.
Okay.
So this is all I have. Yeah.
So this is in the parking lot, or
right
behind the parking lot by 128, or the on-ramp to 128. Is that right, Nora?
Yes, it's so if you look at the Meditech property at 100, 200 Louderburg, you go past the two buildings and to the very far end of their parking lot where you're looking right down at the highway, and this is right adjacent to the highway. Within the landscaped area just outside the parking lot near the highway. So it's most visible from the highway, but it is also significantly visible from High Street.
Okay.
So one of the things that the planning board had considered in all past approvals was the extent of antennas away from the pole. And in all past approvals, the board has limited the extent.
Okay.
So you can see that there are 4 carriers there now. This would be the 5th carrier. And all of the 4 carriers, I think it's AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and I think it's Metro PCS, but they might.
They're probably. So it's either Metro PCS or Sprint up there.
So those are the 4 that are existing. You can see that they have a more narrow profile.
Yeah.
The town's the zoning bylaw that regulates wireless communication facilities has a section in it, which I can read. It's section 9.4.7.12. Requires that all antennas on a major wireless communication facility shall be single unit cross polar antennas. Antennas shall be designed and mounted in such a manner as to present the smallest possible silhouette, profile, or cross section. So in the past, the board has always interpreted that to have a limit on the distance that the arms can extend.
Okay.
Holding the mounting arms can extend from the pole. The most recent approval, the board limited to 22 inches.
Okay.
And where are these?
Um,
Remind me of
What
that
is it? I
dimension.
believe these are approximately 4 feet out, I believe. So I think the dimension there shows 2
It's 2
feet,
foot,
10
2 feet,
inches,
10 inches.
10 inches to the back end of the mount. And then by the time you take from that measurement and add the antenna itself, it scales out to just over 4 feet from the pole to the
It says, I see
outer
a
edge of the
4 foot
antenna.
2 inch dimension on the upper right.
So as you'd expect, so you can see in the photo simulation that they are significantly, it's a wider profile.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
The
the
most
first thing
recent
that
one,
caught
and
my
the
eye.
widest one up there is 22 inches.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
So now I will point out that this is lower down on the pole, and the pole itself is thicker at the location where this will be mounted than it is at the top locations. So I think the board has a little bit of flexibility there to go slightly further out, but probably not 4 feet.
Okay.
I assume you have engineers that could speak to that, how much it could be reduced.
Yeah, so we have an engineering team that can come up with another mount to use. They're not on this call with me right now. So what do you guys think the best plan of action is?
So
Nora, anything short of continuation?
so if I think it would be best to not continue it, to grant it, but maybe with a flexible condition. I think the draft condition I had suggested was no more than 24 inches out from the surface of the pole. But what you could do is you could expand that condition and allow greater flexibility to be approved by the town planner if that's not feasible. Or you could require it to come back to the board if the 24-inch limitation is not feasible. But if there's any way to approve it and allow it to go to building permit, I'm sure that they'd like to get these up there as soon as possible.
You had mentioned that the pole itself was wider in this area, but the measurement's coming off the pole. It's not
the measurement, right? The measurement's coming off of the edge of the pole, right? Right. So what I guess what I was trying to say is it will have a wider presence,
right?
No matter what that distance is, even if you limited it to 20 inches, it's still going to look further apart than the top antennas. And the ones closest to this are flush mounted. So certainly much more distant from the pole than the closest ones.
And is this the same? Sorry, go ahead, Phil.
I was just going to ask, this is being installed for expansion. Is that correct? So you don't have to have a differing setup for some additional antennas in the future. Is that correct?
That's part of the reason. These mounts can hold up to 9 antennas, I believe. I think that's the one that they are using. You see, if you can still see my screen, there's a pole here, and then there's one, you can't really see it that well, over here, where you could attach an antenna bracket.
Right.
I
guess my question is how, I mean, if this is just going to be there with expansion in 3 years, 2 years, I mean, I guess that would be, do you have a sense as to why there is a need to have that level of expansion for this distance? In other words, if that's going to have that many antennas for the future, what do you have a sense of time when that is?
No, I do not, especially because Dish is just building out their network here in Massachusetts. They have built it out in Connecticut.
Right.
They're still working on it. They have not started any type of modifications on that yet. And that's been up for over a year. So I don't even think Dish is looking at a time frame of when they're going to need to. But with the technology, the technology is always changing. It was kind of like, okay, how do we set ourselves up for the future as well as now? And this is sort of what they were thinking.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the planning for the future in that manner is inconsistent with the bylaw, which really limits the board. It says you shall have these fixtures designed in such a manner as to present the smallest possible silhouette, profile, or cross-section. So the board has to make a finding that what they're approving is the smallest silhouette.
Right, correct.
I actually also had a couple of questions. Other applications that have come through have had either anticipated or calculated RF heat maps for exposure at certain heights. I didn't see anything associated with this planned installation, as well as structural analysis of the monopole that was at least referenced in the Crown Castle memo as well.
So as far as the RF, I think this might be what you're looking for. I'm not sure what page the maps are on, so. Is this the type of thing that you're looking for? Oops.
Yeah, no, exactly. In above and beyond that, the structural analysis that was referenced in the Crown Castle memo, I didn't see that included in the documents that we were provided.
That was part of the package. I have the structural analysis right here. This passed, where's the percentage? Here we go. Pass. Where's the poll? No, that's not it. Okay, so it passed overall. The poll passed at 80.7% and overall 81.4%. And this was included in the package that was submitted.
Nor did that just not make it into the.
So I'm looking right now. I see the certification of FCC compliance, the nationwide programmatic agreement co-location criteria verification form. You have that in your packet.
Mm-hmm.
But I do not see the structural report or the radio frequency report. I'm looking at your application package that was filed online. I don't see either of those documents added.
Okay, let me. I can't see my screen because of this little bar at the top here. I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can. Applications. Drawings. You are correct. These were not uploaded. That's my fault. I think I was going off of the list of what is required, and that's what I uploaded.
Well, I think if you show those to the board at this meeting and then add them to your application, they can be cited in the decision as having been received. Would board members like to have an opportunity to review these in detail?
I would.
Sure.
Well, in that case, then I think that you will need to continue the meeting, continue the hearing to your next meeting on February 7th.
Okay. And in that time, I will talk to Crown and to Dish about the mount, and hopefully by then they'll have something else proposed. That way we can kind of get it all done in one shot.
And if
Was
you
this
could just get
this-
some, sorry,
Go,
if
Phil,
you could
sorry.
get some differing pictures, it's just because of the angle from the parking lot, looking up, it's hard to really get the sense of the perception. That would just be my ask if possible. That'd be great.
Sure. I'll see what I can do.
Thank you.
Are these the same? Is this the same mounting system that was at the church?
No, at the church, well, we don't have the application, but that's a stealth monopole, so they would be inside
Would be
the
different.
pole,
Oh,
not outside.
sorry.
This is our
You
only,
did say that. I'm sorry.
yeah, this is the only cell tower in Westwood that's not a stealth tower. Stealth cell tower.
3 times fast. Okay. So unless there's anything else, would you take a motion to continue this?
All right, let me just
Or
get you a motion. Can you see that?
yes.
I move that the planning board continue the public hearing for the Wireless Communication Overlay District Environmental Impact and Design Review, WCOD-EIDR approval for Dish Wireless co-location at 100 to 200 Louderbrook Drive to Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 at 7 p.m. via Zoom, where a Zoom link and associated call-in numbers will be provided on town's calendar on the homepage at https://www.townhall.westwood.ma.us/.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Kate,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
and I vote aye also.
Okay, well, great. So that'll be set up for the meeting on February 7th. And I'll
Great.
I'll
Thank
put
you, guys.
information in the application. If you could just upload what you need to upload as soon as possible so the board can review it.
Oh, absolutely. And just before I go, because I'll go back to Crown and Dish tomorrow regarding the mount, the number of inches I can give them. You said it's 22?
So the most distant antennas that are on the pole now are 22 inches from the surface of the pole.
Okay. Okay. So anything under that would be sufficient?
I think it would.
Okay. All right. I'll see what I
Okay.
can do. And I appreciate your time, everyone. I'll see you on the 7th.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank
you.
you. Have a good night.
You
Yeah.
too.
You too. Good night.
All right, now your
Nora,
next
how is, sorry, I'm just curious, how is February 7th stacking up?
busy. We have, I believe, 5 advertised hearings, and now this continuation is a 6th. And your next meeting after that is March 7th. So
That's going to be busy too.
yes, that's going to be busy too. We don't have applications yet on that meeting, but 2 of your applications on February 7th will likely get started on February 7th, but have to be continued. One is a mixed-use development at 436 Washington Street. One is the Obed Baker House. Both of those are involved projects that I expect to take a minimum of 2 hearing sessions. All right, so your next item tonight is 221 University Avenue. That's the Target facility. You started to hear this proposal at your last meeting on January 3rd, but there was no Target representative present. There was a misunderstanding that we were going forward with the hearing. So I do have Target representative here tonight. Actually, I have two representatives from Target, and I have Merrick Turner again from Beta, your peer review. So I will ask Steve Breidenbach and Casey Lieberman for Target to join us, and also Merrick Turner. And Steve or Casey, if there's anyone else you need me to bring over, please just let me know.
You should also have Jeff Bisso.
Jeff Bisso, yes, I see him. Okay,
That
Jeff,
should be
I'm
it.
promoting you to panelist. If you can accept that, then you'll be brought in. Okay, so that's everyone. So if I don't know who's taking the lead here, Steve, are you handling the application, or?
I could take the lead, Steve.
Great.
You want.
Okay,
That's
Casey,
fine
if
with
you
me.
want to, you're free to share your screen if you need to show anything.
Okay. I actually don't think I will have to for anything, but yeah, my name's Casey Lieberman. I am Target's civil engineering consultant at Kimley Horn, and I'm just representing them in regards to the lighting concern that we are brought to the board tonight for. And then Phil and see if you want to introduce yourselves quickly too.
I can go. My name's Jeff.
Jeff,
So I'm actually with Target. My team, I'm in our operations area. So my team leads a lot of our LED conversion work, including the parking field at our favorite Westwood store.
And Steve, I believe, is the lighting designer.
Yes, Steve Breidenbach with Villa Lighting. We handle the lighting retrofits for Target stores, and I'm the lighting designer in charge of the photometrics for all these locations.
All right. So, yeah, so the reason that we were brought to the board, the concern was that the patterns of the lighting at this store didn't really match the patterns of the rest of the stores in this development. And that was just a definitely misunderstanding on our end. Target always feels very strong about going by the code. And so in this case, it is by the code technically, but we weren't aware that there would need further approval for it to, fall within the guidelines of this master development that the Target's within. So the lights were being shut off earlier than some of the other stores due to the fact that they were just trying to be energy efficient. So yeah, we're just open to hearing what recommendations you may have and what can get us, how we can meet those concerns and, match the rest of the development.
Nora, can you describe what's been discussed so far? And we're not really in the habit of creating your presentation or telling you what we want to see, more responding to how you present. So, okay. Nora, are you able to? I know we had some weigh in from the police department.
We did. So let me first just bring up the plan so that you're looking at what's proposed here. Just give me 1 second. Okay. This is the proposed photometric plan. You can see that, you see this red outline? Mm-hmm. I'm tracing with my cursor. That is the lot line for the Target property. It's kind of an irregularly shaped property. And it has this little tail that comes down the exit side of the site drive and then back up and wraps around Target. So Target owns that piece of property and they control all of the lights within that. And they have been turning off the lights soon after Target closes business for the evening. There are other businesses in the shopping area. There are these businesses straight across the street or across the parking lot here. There's Panera Bread is in here on the far side, Chipotle's on the left, and there are several businesses in the center. They all have licenses that allow them to operate until 11 p.m. Then slightly off of the map here is Wegmans, and Wegmans is open every night until midnight. Now, when Target was last before you, they had listed their hours as going as late as midnight, which was the case during the lead up to the holiday. But I believe they currently close, I don't recall if it's 9 or 9:30, but it's earlier than those other businesses close. So the police departments, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's 10 o'clock. Yep, we
10
moved
o'clock.
it back. You're right.
Okay. So the police department's concern is with the lights being dimmed or turned off at all during the period of time when other shoppers and other users of the facility, the overall core retail area, are going through the parking lot. So we have some comments that came in from Lieutenant Chris Sheehy at the Westwood Police Department, saying that they have no objection to dimming the lights slightly after Target closes while the other businesses are still open, but not to turn the lights off until an hour after the all of the businesses have closed down, not to turn the lights completely off. Now, one thing I will point out is that the existing lights do not have motion sensors on them, and the proposed new lights will. That this is something that helped the police department feel comfortable with the lights going off at all, or later in the evening after all the stores are closed, because if someone does drive onto the site or walk onto the site, as they come by a light pole, the lights will turn back on. So the motion detectors that will be added with the new lights, that's a positive feature that the police department felt was a safer condition than right now. Right now, they are simply turning the lights off after Target closes.
And Nora, how late are those lights surrounding the Target property in red, shown on this picture? How late are they?
So all of the lights that are not controlled by Target are they have photo sensors which turn the lights on just before dusk and turn them off just after dawn. Those lights are on all night.
And prior to this, Target's lights were on the same time?
From the time of the approval, the understanding was that Target's lights would be on all the time. But when Target actually built its facility, I believe they put a timer controlling their lights and have been turning them off after their close of business.
Since they've opened?
I don't know if one of the Target representatives has more information on when they started doing that.
Yeah, I think that would probably be hard to ascertain at this time. You know, what we have is we have 2,000 stores, right, that we manage. And so as you can imagine, everything is managed back at headquarters central hub. And we use pretty sophisticated software, basically to keep control of the lights. And not all of the stores operate at the same hours. And we know we have a variety of different, you know, entitlement obligations. So as you can imagine, it gets pretty complicated, but I think probably, you know, what happens is we go through our operational guidelines, the software that we use, and sometimes the teams will be looking for things that are outliers. And it could have been that, you know, without the background from the new store build, you know, entitlements information at their fingertips, that somebody might have thought, oh, the store's running too long, right? Because that happens from time to time when you have a lot of software that gets manually inputted, you have typos. And so somebody might have adjusted it. I think we're fine operating to the ordinances that Westwood has. We've already actually made the adjustment. So right now the store is operating to the lights being on. I think it's 1 hour past Wegmans close, which is per the code. So right now the store is operating within Westwood's requirements.
Okay. So, and Nora, the lights on the Wegman side, do they stay on till dawn as well?
They do. Yes, all the lights that are not controlled by Target stay on till dawn. Now, there's only one light. We do have Merrick Turner here from Beta, who you heard from at your January 3rd meeting, and Merrick chime in, but I believe you thought that it was a positive factor to first dim and then to turn off the lights rather than leaving them on all night for energy saving purposes. But there was one light that was of concern, and that's at the lower right-hand corner of the screen, this light that lights the site drive. That was the only one that I believe we were all concerned about that light being turned off.
Yeah, that's correct, Nora.
Is that more for pedestrians walking down the sidewalk in University or car traffic?
I think both. I think there's very limited car traffic after 1 a.m. that we have to worry about. And since all the lights are motion sensor, or the new proposed lights will be motion censored, they would come on. But I don't know if a car coming down the street, if that light is necessary to light the intersection.
It certainly contributes and would certainly help, particularly in the pedestrian area.
So I was going to ask, since they are motion activated, those two lights on the end of by Chipotle within Target, are they going to be activated by car? No, not those. The black ones down lower.
Over here?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, each one has its own sensor, so it detects motion.
Right. Would car traffic on University activate those? Are they close enough?
Usually, certainly something we could, confirm during our commissioning process. The sensors are adjustable. If you guys want, Target would probably be okay too. Just because everything's wireless, we can actually create a specific zone just for that pole and run that pole separately from all the other poles. If that would be something the city would want Target to look at.
Okay, thanks, Merrick. Did you have a comment on that?
No. I think I think that sounds good, and certainly there's a range to the sensors as well. And by the time you get out to University Ave, you're probably getting up to the limits of that range. I think, as was just noted, they can be directed to.
Certainly, usually, if you're on the drive, it'll pick it up, but I don't know about this.
Usually, when you get about 50 feet away from these sensors, you start to not trigger those as easily. So that you like you said, you're pretty much at the edge. And it's not going to trigger very easily. You'd have to be closer than that.
Okay. Any board members with comments or questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I actually was sort of wanting to circle back to the fact that these were adjusted by somebody who just thought this was some sort of typographical error or something. What's to prevent this from being changed again in the future when somebody else looks at it and decides that isn't aligned with the rest of the corporate policy?
Yeah, we have the ability to add notes in our system now. So what we'll do is we'll put in, because it will be an outlier, right, in terms of how, when you look at the chain, the chain operates 98% of the stores are all turning off a half hour after close, right? So we tend to have outlier stores, and we have systems now that can help the team put notes in so that prevents anybody. They can, when they go in, they'll see that it's an approved exception, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'd also point out the planning board typically in other projects throughout town assigns an hour after close of business for lights to be turned off. And I don't know if you feel that that's the appropriate time here, or if you'd be willing to reduce that to 30 minutes after the close of business.
You're asking the planning board?
The planning board, yes. Yeah, I don't know,
Did the police department say 1 hour? Was it?
1 hour is what the board has traditionally required for other businesses. You're usually going in the opposite direction, though. In other businesses, you're requiring them to turn off their lights after they've closed, because most of those other businesses are bordering residential districts. Right. This is a little bit different.
So you're advocating for 30 minutes after the last business may close, like Panera or Chipotle?
Or Chipotle or Wegmans. Closed. Yeah, Wegmans is, I think, right now the very last. Restaurants in Westwood have to close by 11, but okay. Wegmans is open until midnight. So perhaps allow the lights to go off at 12:30 rather than 1. I think, any savings is greater, more energy efficient the sooner you can turn it off. And I'm just wondering if 30 minutes is enough time for the employees to leave the facility, get to their cars and drive away.
Nora, do you have a copy of that email that you had the quote from the police? that
I
you forwarded?
can put up all the staff comments. Just give me 1 minute.
Thank you.
Nor while you're doing that, this is obviously spurred on by cost savings for Target, which I completely understand why they're doing that. Has it spurred any discussion amongst Wegmans or other entities down there to do the same?
All the other lights are controlled by New England Development, and I made New England Development aware of this proposal. They were surprised. They were not aware that Target was already shutting off the lights. But they looked at the proposal. They did not have any concerns about it, but they also didn't go so far as to say that they will be doing the same thing. They may come back in the future with a request to swap out their heads with new, more energy efficient, more remote control heads that could be operated in the same manner, but they have not made a commitment to do that yet. So for the time being, if the board approves these changes to the Target lights, you can expect the New England Development lights throughout the rest of the core retail area to remain on throughout the night.
And they're not concerned with the with being is there continuity within the parking lot lighting?
So they were not concerned with the we talked about the light temperature difference, and it was not significant enough. So while the lights are on, that's the period that New England Development would be most concerned about, is the main period of operation of the shopping center. So the period when the lights are on and when Target is open and all their other businesses are open. And at that time, these new lights will be slightly different, but probably not perceivable to most people that the lights are different. I'm trying to remember, Merrick, do you know offhand, or Steve, what was one 4,000 and the other 5,000?
Yeah, the existing is 5,000 and the proposed is 4,000.
And that's not perceptible to most people. So you see the lights side by side, you wouldn't notice the difference. So New England Development didn't express any concern about that. I think they're supportive of being more sustainable, and there may come a time where they choose to do that, but I think they have to analyze the payback period of replacing all the light fixtures against the energy savings and the cost savings that come along with that.
We do have to be, I guess, mindful that if we do agree to a 30-minute time period here, then a similar request would be made of all the other lights in the property, I would assume.
If they choose to turn them off at all.
If they choose to go to, yeah.
Yes.
That was my concern, because this is kind of precedent setting, and I'm uncomfortable with just the 30 minutes. I just know that seemingly it's certainly aspirational, but not all employees, I think, are going to necessarily be able to get out, and then you have a safety issue.
But these would then be activated by motion, right?
Right.
If there's something in that area.
Right. So you'd have the lights popping on as an employee went by the fixtures.
Correct.
If I may, that it's just the Target lights that would pop on due to motion. If the other folks turn off their lights, there is no motion detector on their lights.
Well, I don't think they would be turning them off unless we had a motion situation.
Right. New England Development leaves their lights on all night, and they have not asked to change that. And I think we can be confident that New England Development won't just shut off their lights without asking.
Okay.
If they choose to pursue a program like Target is pursuing now, they'll come back to the board and request permission to change out their lights.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I operated thinking of that. At no time would the parking lot be dark when someone is in need of lighting, given the motion sensors. I guess I don't have a real stern objection about the 30-minute versus 60. That's just me, though. There's 4 other people here who would feel free to weigh in.
I agree with that.
Yeah, the motion sensors make this a moot topic, in my opinion.
Okay. Is there anything else to the presentation from the applicants or from Merrick from Beta? Is there anything else we need to hear or?
No, not
needs to be presented?
from my standpoint, Merrick Turner from Beta Group. No, I think we certainly like the idea of the enhanced energy conservation. And as Nora noted, we really don't have a concern about the color temperature. The lighting, once it's full on, should be a good match for the rest of the lighting level within the development. And they're on existing poles as well, so there'll be no obvious difference.
And these are instant on. They don't take a while to warm up with each motion sensor, right? They're
LED, so instant on and can be instant on, instant off.
How long do they stay on through the motion? Once the motion's gone?
I mean, so it's all programmable to whatever you want it to do. So if you want it to turn on, motion stops. If you want it on for 10 minutes, after that,
I think it resets after 10 minutes. I think.
Yeah.
And so again, if it senses motion after that 10 minutes, it'll just stay on again, right? So.
And that's a radius of 50 feet from the pole. Is that what you say?
50 is where it starts to diminish. Nothing's perfect because height, environmental, all the variables going into it. It's you don't get always this or always that, but that's where we've seen diminishing.
You would be comfortable with keeping the default of 10 minutes for the settings. Is that fair?
Yeah, usually it's it's transient traffic, right? It's a car, it's somebody walking through, they're hardly ever hanging out,
Right.
is what we find. So
okay.
Would you like
Any
to
other
consider a
comments?
motion?
Sure, we can entertain
I think
a motion.
Target's good. We appreciate your guys' time tonight, hearing us out.
Thank
So
you.
this is the draft motion that I had created with reduction of the lights from the time Target closes until the time Wegmans closes down to 45% maximum power. So from 100%, it's 100% until an hour after Target closes. It drops down to 45% until an hour after Wegmans closes. That's how this is drafted. If you either want to change that percentage, or if you want to change it from 1 hour to 30 minutes, I can revise this draft motion before someone makes it.
So this is happened. It says 45% after 1 hour the Target store closes. After the close of business of the Target store until 1 hour. Oh, okay. Then it goes.
Right. So you have that reduction of light, but the lights are not off. They're still on. They're just on at a reduced level for that time between Target's closing and Wegmans closing. And then after Wegmans closes, whatever period of time you decide, whether it's 1 hour after or 30 minutes after, then the lights go completely off and only come back on if there's a motion detected.
And they come back on at 100%? When motion
when
activated?
they get triggered. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Did I misunderstand when they went from 5,000 to 4,000?
That's the color temperature.
That's the color temperature.
Color
Okay.
temperature, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So during most times when shoppers are in the area, all the lights throughout the whole development will be on at 100%. After Target and almost all of the businesses are closed, most of the lights will remain at 100%, but the Target lights could drop down to 45% the way this is written. If you want a different number, we can change that number because it is all programmable. And then after Wegmans closes, then at some period after Wegmans closes, the lights go off entirely around the Target area, but the lights stay on throughout the rest of the development.
And how did you arrive at 45%?
That was a figure that was discussed when we met with Steve and Merrick from Beta and Glenn. Glenn was a lighting consultant that was here at the January 3rd meeting. And I think that was a number that everyone seemed comfortable with, but we did also discuss 30%. And I believe Glenn, Merrick, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Glenn thought the 30% was acceptable as well.
Yeah, and because the relatively high level of lighting that exists at 100%, even going down to half that value is still a good level of lighting. So he was sort of comfortable even edging down further, as you mentioned.
What about that one isolated light that's right near the entranceway that is at the side, at the bottom?
So if you look at condition 3 here, you go down to right around the middle of the condition, it says any target controlled light fixtures within 20 feet of the access drive shall remain illuminated at 100% output from the photocell detection of darkness prior to dusk until the photocell detection of lightness after dawn. So in other words, that one light would remain on at 100%.
Okay, that's what.
Is that still motion activated? Or
it's going to remain on, so you're probably not going to notice.
Okay.
It has the capacity to be motion activated, but
Yeah,
on
we're
is
gonna
on.
keep it because of where it is.
Mhm.
Okay.
So do we want to revise it to 30 minutes? I'm okay with that.
Okay. I would be inclined to keep it at 45, and if they want to come back in maybe 6 months or 12 months and petition for down to 30%, maybe we'll see how it's going. I don't know how much. I don't know. I was just throwing it out there as a.
Yeah, Kate was saying
possibility.
Kate was talking about the time, not the
30
percentage. As compared to the 1 hour, which is what Nora had drafted, which is highlighted.
No, I was talking about, someone had mentioned dropping it down to 30% output, right, Merrick?
Yeah. That was certainly a conversation that's an option. It could go a little bit lower, but that's certainly a way forward in terms of just seeing what you have.
I don't know how other board members feel about that. If they want to go down to the 30 or stay at the 45 for a period of time and then maybe revisit.
Yeah, I would stay at the 45 and then kind of just keep an eye on it and let them revisit it if that's appropriate.
Agree.
All right, so I've revised your draft. I've left it 45%, but I've changed the time delay between the close of Wegmans. First between the close of Target to the close of Wegmans at 30 minutes after Target closes, and then 30 minutes after Wegmans closes.
Okay.
So if you're comfortable with that, would someone like to make a motion?
Is the applicant acceptable to? Is this acceptable to you?
Yeah, I think it's a great kind of halfway point. I think we're definitely open. The whole reason we're doing wireless is to give ourselves more control in these types of scenarios. So it's actually fun to use the flexibility from time to time. So, and I guess my only question might be is if you guys do you think the city is going to explore updating their ordinance at some point because right now the way the code reads, right, it's 1 hour after close, but it sounds like maybe you guys might be open down the road to shortening that. I assume it has a large impact on the city, so it's probably not something to be taken lightly. But my only question is I'm going to go in and write all these notes to make sure we program it and keep it where we want. And so if at some point the code changes, I'd just be curious if that makes sense.
It's at the board's discretion. The lights are not supposed to stay on more than an hour after close of business. And in most areas of the town, that's the way it's applied. That is not how it was ever applied at University Station.
Yeah.
So, but
I mean, Target's just
everything at
very,
University
very,
Station is at the board's discretion.
As you guys can imagine, with 2,000 stores, we're trying to find ways to save energy around every corner. So we really appreciate everyone being open to all these ideas that we're talking about tonight, because I think it does help lead to a more energy conscious operations. So,
and I think this also supports the board's goal of sustainability. And I also note that Target is the one store that when we were building out University Station, all the buildings were made solar ready. Target is the one store that came back and actually installed photovoltaic panels on its rooftop. So this takes it another step further.
Yep.
Well, I think it also may prompt conversation with New England Development and the remaining light in the parking area. So it may take a little bit, but we might get down there for the whole development. But you know, for right now, I think this is a good first step. So I appreciate what you're bringing to Westwood here.
Thank you.
Nora, if you can zoom in on that, I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's about as far as I can go. Can you read
Awesome.
that?
Yeah, I can. Thank you. I move that the planning board grant the requested project development review approval for alterations to site lighting and building lighting at Target University Station, 221 University Avenue, as described in the application, therefore submitted to the planning board and filed in the office of the town clerk on December 5th, 2022, subject to the following conditions. 1, except as modified by the conditions and findings hereof, the project shall comply with the project plans in all respects, and the applicant shall pursue completion of the project with reasonable diligence and continuity. 2, all target-controlled parking lot light fixtures shall be fitted with photocell sensors, which turn lights on upon detection of darkness prior to dusk, and which turn lights off upon detection of lightness following dawn. 3, all target-controlled parking lot light fixtures shall remain illuminated at 100% output from the photocell detection of darkness prior to dusk until 30 minutes after the close of business of the target store. All target-controlled parking lot light fixtures, with the exception of any fixtures within 20 feet of the access drive, may then be reduced to a minimum of 45% output from 30 minutes after the close of business of the target store until 30 minutes after the last close of business within the University Station core retail area. Any target-controlled light fixtures within 20 feet of the access drive shall remain illuminated at 100% output from the photocell detection of darkness prior to dusk until the photocell detection of lightness after dawn. Note, the current last closing time is for Wegmans at 12 midnight, so all target-controlled parking lot light fixtures, with the exception of any fixtures within 20 feet of the access drive, shall currently remain illuminated with at least 45% power from 30 minutes after the close of business of the target store until 12:30 a.m. 4, all target-controlled parking lot light fixtures shall be fitted with motion detection sensors, which immediately increase illumination of fixtures to 100% output upon detection of pedestrian or vehicular motion in reasonable proximity to such fixtures for a minimum of 10 minutes. Thank you. 5, all project-related construction activities shall comply with the time frame set forth in the town's general bylaws, Chapter 292, for noise and construction, which allows such work Monday through Saturday between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and Sunday between the hours of 12 p.m. and 7 p.m. 6, a copy of this decision and the project plans shall be kept on the project site at all times during construction. 7, this PDR approval shall lapse if a substantial use thereof or construction thereunder has not begun except for good cause within 2 years following the grant thereof. The planning board may extend such approval for good cause upon the written request of the applicant. In the case of this approval, the term substantial use thereof or construction thereunder shall mean the commencement and substantial continued progress of the approved activity.
Second.
Now, this is a public hearing, so before you actually vote on that motion, did you want to request any public input? Chris, I'm sorry, you're on mute.
Yep, I am sorry. Yeah, so we'll open up a public comment. If anyone would like to raise their hand or type in a question in the Q&A, we'll give a few seconds. We do have a motion and a second, and this will be the further comment period. If there's anyone in
I don't
attendance,
see any hands
I
raised.
don't see either.
And nothing in the chat.
No. All right, so we do have a motion and a second from board members. Is there any further discussion on the application? Okay, hearing and seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote of approval. Josh?
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
and I vote aye also.
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much, Casey and Jeff and Steve.
Nice to meet everyone.
Yeah.
Have a
Nice
nice
to meet
night.
you too. Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Thank you.
time. Have a good night.
Good night.
All right. Now your next application is an approval not required plan for 345 Manhattan Street. Oh, go ahead, Ellen.
Looks like
Do
Ellen.
we
sorry.
need to,
Yes,
we need to close
the
that?
hearing.
Close the hearing.
We do
Thank
need to
you.
close the hearing. Thank you.
Take a
Motion to close the
hearing.
public hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
Se-
All right, motion to second. Any comment or discussion to close? Hearing and seeing none. Ellen,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
I vote aye.
All right. Now your next application.
That would have
Yes.
stayed open forever.
You're right. An approval not required plan for 345 Manhattan Street. And I have Grace Lee as the applicant. Grace, I'm promoting you to a panelist. If you accept that, you can come into the meeting and speak to the board. And if there's anyone with you that you'd like us to bring over, just let me know and I'll bring that person over as well.
I see Grace has hand up.
All right, Grace, you can speak is there anyone else you'd like to bring over? I think you're muted. You just unmute yourself, you can speak. You're muted. Could you unmute your audio? There we go.
Hi, Nora. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Grace. Was there anyone joining you? Did you have a surveyor or are you just representing this application?
Just represent the application. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, let me, I can bring up the plan.
Okay, thank you.
1 second. All right, so Grace, do you want to explain what the proposal is here to bring one lot into three?
Yes, previously there are 2 lots. Now we are proposing to divide these 2 into 3 lots. The existing 2 lots are I think the lot IDs. Can I see the lot ID?
You can see on the locus plan up here, the existing configuration of the lots.
Yeah, that's the existing lots. Previously, I think this map, the larger map, right? The dot line, previously, this like the left part is 1 lot, and the right part is another lot. That's the existing 2 lots. Now the 2 existing lots are proposed to be divided into 3 lots. This one, the lot 101, lot 102, and the lot 103 are the 3 new, are the 3 proposed lots.
So I think that there's a line right here. You can see my cursor. Everything to the left of that line was 1 lot, and everything to the right of that line was the 2nd lot. So there were 2 lots. The lot to the left of this line has an existing home, and the lot to the right of this line is undeveloped. So the proposal is to create 3 lots, one of which is in the center here that would contain the existing home, and the other 2 lots are intended to be building lots. When the planning board approves or endorses an approval not required plan, it does not make any determination of compliance with zoning, and it does not state that those lots are buildable. That has to come after the fact from the building commissioner. However, Grace has met with Joe Doyle and discussed this proposal. Her surveyor and Grace have met with the building commissioner and feel confident that these will be 3 buildable lots.
That lot 103 is buildable?
So we can't make that determination, but you
I know
can
we
see that
can't.
the building envelope that's in here, that shows an area where you could build that meets all of the setback requirements. And same
Oh,
over here.
50,000.
Yes, this little envelope here, it's 40 feet back, which is the front setback, 20 feet from either side, and a minimum of 30 feet from the backyard. So both of those lots would have that. And then the center lot, the only measurement that was a concern to make sure this is a buildable lot is the lot width. To make sure the lot width remains consistent all the way back to the location of the existing dwelling, because that is set so far back. 175 feet is the minimum lot width, and the way this lot was created, that lot width is attained all the way back to the location. And then the other concern to make sure that you're not making a non-conforming use out of that building is to make sure that building meets the minimum required setbacks, which are 40 feet for the front setback, which clearly they make, 20 feet for either side setback, which they make, and 30 feet for the rear. So that building remains a conforming structure after the lots are divided. The only thing that's odd about this is the shape of lot 103. Now
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah, so you have a lot shape factor in the bylaw, but it does not apply to approval not required lots. It only applies to lots created by subdivision. If this was a subdivision, which would only be necessary if you had to put a road in to serve the lots, if it was a subdivision, that lot would fail to meet the maximum 50 lot shape factor. That lot shape factor is shown here is 58.3. But that's not a requirement that comes into play on an approval not required plan. The only thing the board looks at is frontage on a public street or on an accepted way and actual access to the buildable portions of the lots. In this case, these 2 proposed new lots would have actual access right off of Manhattan Street. This existing home has a driveway right now that runs through proposed lot 101. If the applicant chooses to maintain that driveway, they would have to come back and request a shared driveway special permit. There are other options to put a new driveway onto the new lot.
What is that rectangle behind the existing home? What does that represent?
You just took the words out of my mouth.
Sorry, Phil.
No, that's exactly what I was just going to ask.
Grace,
That's the tennis court.
Yes. That's
The
a
tennis
fence
court
around
for the
a tennis
existing
court.
home.
Yeah.
Oh,
It just seems like that acreage back there belongs with lot 102. So other than to get to the 60,000, which you're almost 50% more than that, I just
80,000. Minimum lot size is 80,000 in this district.
I thought it said 60. Sorry. It's
60,000 square
upland.
feet of upland, 80,000
sorry.
square feet overall.
Now asked and answered. Sorry. Thank you. Got it.
Yeah, so I think the land surveyor worked very carefully to make sure all the dimensions met the bylaw. But as a result, you get a very oddly configured lot.
so Nora, 102 has to stay the width throughout which it does, but that doesn't apply to 103. Is that, am I correct?
No, because the width is only up to the location where the front of the structure is. So
and
you have
since
to
103,
maintain
the
lot width
structure would be
until you
close.
get to the front of the structure. So on lot
Oh.
103 and on lot 101, the assumption is that the building would be right up front, just outside of the 40-foot setback.
So the only place that the building could be on 103 would be near the front and not where the tennis court is.
That's right, right.
Okay.
They could not put a principal structure at the back of that lot.
I understand. Okay.
And because this is not a subdivision, this is the last we'll see of this. Everything will be dictated by the building commissioner.
Right. So if the lots are sold and then someone comes in and applies for a building permit, then the building commissioner would have to make sure that the building permit application places the home in the right, within that building envelope. But that's not the planning board's concern. The concern for the planning
Right.
board is just frontage and access.
Okay. Ellen, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of ask a question. It's a concern, really. If I read our rules and regs correctly, this plan is missing a few pieces of information that are required for an A&R plan. So I'm not sure what that means for us as far as signing it at all. Like, I don't see the applicant name and owner of record. I don't see the abutters listed, and I don't see the surveyor's signature. I see the stamp. And if I double checked against the regs, because the plan, it looked a little odd to me and I couldn't figure out why. And then I went and read the pieces, and that's what jumped out to me, is that those aren't there. So I don't know, I guess that's the question. Can and should we sign off on a plan that isn't technically in compliance with the regulations?
So as far as the signature, that comes on the Mylar itself, not necessarily on the copy that's put up here as a draft plan, but you would not sign a document that did not have a wet signature across the stamp. But for the other information, if you want that information added, then that could be added to the Mylar before you would sign the Mylar.
Yeah, I personally would want to make sure that I was signing a document that was in full compliance with our regulations. So I would want to see that information on the Mylar before I endorsed it.
And what was it you said? Abutters names and what else?
Name and
Abutters
address of the
names,
property owner.
yeah.
Oh,
And the applicant's name,
okay.
if the applicant is different than the owner of record, they both need to be on there.
Okay, thank you for your feedback. I think we can certainly, write that down.
So I guess that's just one other question. As far as for my voting, can we add that condition? Because there's no other legal reason not to endorse this, but I don't want to vote yes and then, end up being in a position where if that information for whatever reason doesn't make it onto the plan, I wouldn't sign that. So can we just put that condition into our motion?
So you could do that either one of two ways. Either you can reject the plan as incomplete and require the new plan to be submitted in time for your next meeting on February 7th, or you can approve the plan subject to the revision of the actual Mylar to reflect those items. Either way is acceptable.
Thank you.
I would agree with Ellen, is if it's a condition that before the execution of the Mylar would make sense. So we don't have to push it over to the February 7th.
You need to make sure you include that in your motion.
All right. Any other comments or questions before we hear a motion? Okay, don't see any. Nora, are you drafting motion language? Or?
I am. Just give me a second. Can you see my screen?
No.
No, not yet.
Okay, let me stop it and reshare. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so that address your concerns?
It does. I didn't notice anything else missing. I went kind of quickly through the rules and regs, but I believe that's everything.
All right, well, I've worded it so that it
It's
reflects all the
including-
requirements. So
yeah.
we'll double check it when it comes in.
Right. I move that the planning board find the approval not required application for 345 Manhattan Street dated November 29th, 2022 to be complete, and that the board vote to endorse the submitted plan as not requiring approval under the subdivision control laws subject to the following conditions: that the Mylar plan is revised to reflect all requirements in the planning board's rules and regulations pertaining to approval not required plans, including the names and addresses of the property owner, applicant, and all direct abutters, and that the Mylar plan contains a wet signature of the professional land surveyor.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this A&R? All right, hearing none, we'll move to a vote to endorse by roll call vote. Phil,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Okay, thank you very much. Best of luck.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Grace.
you too.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, next on your agenda is consideration of minutes. We have two sets of minutes from December 13th and from January 3rd. At the last meeting, I think I told you there was Kate, I believe, had a concern that there was one item that was left out of the minutes, a reference to the bicycle requirements, bicycle parking standards. And I added that to the draft minutes. Did
So,
everyone have a chance to review?
Yeah, I did. I thought it all looked good. I did think I saw one typo. Now I can't seem to pull up my minutes.
I can get
It's
the
the
minutes.
word igniter or ignite, and shoot, I can't recall. I know that's the word I thought, and it was maybe about the lighting. Yeah, it was about the target lighting. So somewhere in there, it appeared to me to be a typo. The first time we heard the target. So my apologies if that's the wrong.
All right,
the wrong
let me find
set
that. So that would
of
be for
minutes.
the January 3rd set of minutes. That's
Yeah.
when we heard target.
Okay.
right, so
Is that the
let-
one we're talking about first? I
Why don't we
apologize.
talk about the December ones first?
Okay. Yeah, it's farthest back. Okay. I didn't note any discrepancies or need for edits. Anyone else?
None for me.
Okay, then if everyone believes them to be accurate account of our meeting, we'll take a motion to approve the meeting minutes as given to us earlier in our packet.
Yep. So, so moved, and that's for Tuesday, December 13th, 2022.
Do you want to get a second and then
Second.
vote on that?
Yeah, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion on the meeting minutes for December? Sorry, what date was that?
December 13th, 2022.
Thank you. No more discussion. We'll take a roll call vote to accept. Ellen,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
and I vote aye also.
All right, now I have the minutes. Can you see on the screen the January 3rd minutes?
Yes.
And you had a concern about something in the target
Yeah.
application?
I think
Scroll
it's
down to target. Oh, how I see it right here. How the
igniting.
igniting
Yes.
is today. That should be lighting.
Right. Good catch, Chris.
Eagle eye.
So if you are accepting of the minutes with that one change, someone would like to make that motion?
So moved.
I didn't hear the motion. Sorry, did I?
To the
Phil
motion
is,
would be
Phil
to,
is muted. It appears he's talking.
go ahead, Phil.
I was just going to say, I move to accept the minutes with that change.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Josh.
Aye.
Kate.
Abstain.
Okay.
I wasn't here
Phil.
for that meeting.
Okay. Phil.
Aye.
Ellen.
Aye.
And I vote aye also. That's 4 yeses and 1 abstention.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is any updates from agency or committee representatives. Don't know if anyone has had anything.
I actually have, I don't want to take too much time, but since it's not super late, I don't feel like I'm imposing. I am the liaison to WEAC, and one of the things that I reported back to them, all the sustainability warrant articles that we're proposing, they were very excited about all of that and wanted to pass on their thanks back to the rest of the board and to Nora and town staff as well. So that's coming back to you. But one thing that they're talking about is they're trying to work on pollinator protection. And they asked if there was anything that this board could do to contribute to that effort. And I thought, maybe there's something we could look at, not necessarily as part of a bylaw, but when we're thinking about this, like when we're talking about conditions for special permits and that kind of thing. I don't know whether that's more under Concom, requiring organic fertilizers and pest control and that kind of thing. But I just wanted to bring it back to our board that is something that is a priority for WEAC. It's something that I care about very deeply, and that if there are ways under our purview to contribute to that effort, just something we could think about.
So we don't have an agenda item for the discussion of zoning amendments tonight, but we will have that on February 7th, and that could be taken up under the sustainability article, and especially under the landscape provisions in that article. That might be a good place to add that. And in the meantime, I can talk to Karen Skinner-Catroni and see what standards the Conservation Commission would apply.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Ellen, is there a way, I don't want to discuss out of turn here. Pat, can we, I don't want to overstep.
Don't know what you're going to say, so I can't tell you whether you should say it or not.
I guess I won't ask a question. I would just ponder outwardly. I would like to consider that.
So why don't you put it? Why don't you put it
alongside whether it's as effective as non whatever the word is I'm looking for, whatever we use currently.
So
those are hypothetical.
So my suggestion is that you schedule that for discussion under your zoning articles moving forward, and you not bring it up tonight.
Okay. That was me with a thought bubble.
I understand, but we need to manage those as well, Chris.
I understand. That was my first. I don't know.
Might be worth reaching out to the chair of WEAC, and I can do that and just let her know that it's going to be on our agenda, so that if she and or any members of her board want to attend and weigh in, because they're really the experts, about what is better, worse, etc. So maybe they can attend and advise us.
I think it'd be great if they attend, especially since you're discussing sustainability as one of your articles. It would be terrific to have WEAC members weigh in on that.
Alan, I have some inside information on this. If you want to give me a call offline, I'll be happy to speak with you.
That'd be great. I'll give you a call this week. Thank you.
Any other agency or committee representatives? If not, then we'll move on to the general miscellaneous updates and administrative items. The next item under that is the selection of peer review consultants. I have only one application that we need a peer review consultant for right now, and that's 436 Washington Street. We've received a mixed use, flexible multiple use overlay district application for 436 Washington Street. And in your packets, I sent 2 peer review proposals. One was from Tom Houston at PSC, and one was from Phil Paradis at Beta. and they have significantly different values.
Nora, from what I saw, it looked. Could you discern how many meetings would be attended by Beta? I couldn't tell how many meetings they were including in their proposal.
Let me just take a quick look. They propose an nurture meeting with the board with just the applicant.
And how does that relate with Mr. Houston?
Let me check Mr. Houston's. He has proposed to confer with town staff as needed and prepare for 2 public hearing review sessions with the planning board. So he doesn't specifically say that he would meet with the applicant, but confer with town staff as needed. That first meeting would be with town staff and the applicant. So I think they're equivalent. I think the only thing that's really different between the 2 proposals is that Beta has included a scope fee for a traffic assessment review of $2,550, and Tom Houston's proposal notes that there is no traffic review and that would be added if it was needed.
With no cost associated with that ad.
No, I think there would be a cost, but he hasn't specified.
No, I know, no, right. That's what I meant to say. He hasn't indicated what that would be.
Right. So his proposal is significantly less than Beta's. And if we assume that the cost for Tom Houston to review a traffic assessment would be in line with Beta's, Tom Houston's proposal is still less.
But he's saying 2, sorry to jump in, he's saying 2 meetings he would attend versus Beta's saying 3.
So they're both saying 2 meetings with the board, and then Beta's saying that they understand they would have an initial review meeting, not with the board, but just with the applicant and staff. And Tom is saying that he understands he would confer with staff as necessary. It doesn't say how many times. One of the times he'd confer with staff, we would include the applicant. So
it's
whether he would charge more, I could get a clarification on whether he would charge more for that.
I'm just, correct me where I have this wrong. On Beta, I'm seeing 3 board meetings that they're attending: M1, M2, and M4.
Oh, I'm sorry. I read the M1 as being a meeting with just the staff, the initial planning meeting. Sorry, it was planning board meeting.
And which do we think is more likely, that we'll need 2 meetings typically as a planning board, or will we need 3, do we think?
I think on this project, you're likely to need 2. So you already had a pre-application conference where you reviewed it and identified the areas of concern. I think there were 2. I think the main one was traffic, whether you allow a left turn or not allow a left turn. But the building exists, the footprint exists, they're building up. So there's some design issues, but I would be surprised if it took more than 2 meetings.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have a problem with, I've read multiple reports from both of these entities, and I don't have a problem with either of their work products. They're very detailed and very thorough. That being said, it seems like to use your judgment, if a traffic assessment is needed and was to be added and was in line with their existing pricing, I would lean towards Mr. Houston only in the interest of making sure that we don't hire the same company each time. Beta is great. I don't have a problem with them. When is the last time we hired Mr. Houston, Nora?
I know it was when Abby was still here. So she left in March. So it was sometime prior to March.
At least a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Can I interrupt? I think it was for the On the Run or All Town.
Yeah, that's what
All Town, right. That's right. On High
that
Street,
was,
yes. That was 2 years
COVID?
ago.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
So Tom does a great job. so does Phil. They're both very
Yeah,
good.
yeah, they
So I
both
would
do.
recommend maybe accepting the proposal from Tom Houston and asking him to provide a price for traffic assessment added to that.
Oh, okay.
And I would just want to make sure then it doesn't exceed Beta's proposal when he adds that.
So is this something we need to vote on, Nora?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, so that I can award the contract to the right party and get the review started so that when they come in on February 7th for your initial hearing, you have a peer reviewer who's actually looked at the proposal.
Great. So
Mr. Chairman, you have a question in the Q&A. I think that pertains.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was just allowing for this discussion to finish up. Yeah, so basically, Kate, we hire and the applicant pays.
Yep. So at this point, can I just say so moved, and you'll get the additional information you, based on that, I'm saying get the additional information you need from Mr. Houston, but barring
select
a
him
negative
as the-
response, yeah.
Okay.
We should do both. There's both questions. Oh,
You mean the questions in the Q&A, Phil?
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure that this is relevant, but I'll ask the question. It's not relevant to our choosing of a peer review consultant. Fran Fusco, 20 Pine Lane, has asked the question: has this property been purchased by the developer?
I don't know. I know at the time of application that it was there was a purchase and sale agreement. I don't know if the purchase has gone through, if it's closed, or if the intent is to obtain approval before closing. That's a question to be asked at the hearing. And at this point, it's not a hearing on the subject matter. It's just the board discussing who it wants to hire as a peer review consultant.
Right.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to hire Tom Houston as a peer review consultant. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Josh?
Aye.
Phil?
aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Ellen?
Aye.
And I vote aye also.
Okay, and then the other item under this agenda item is the MBTA community work plan submission, the action plan submission. So we spoke about this at your last hearing, your last meeting, I'm sorry, where we talked about zoning. The board, or I as a staff person to the town, am responsible for submitting an action plan to the Department of Community and Economic Development, stating how the town intends to comply with the MBTA communities law, and I intend to do that. It's due by the 31st. I would likely do it tomorrow, and I'll submit an action plan that simply states that the board has adopted the Mumford district and believes that that district is a district of reasonable size and satisfactory to meet the terms of the bylaw. I will note that we understand, meet the terms of the new law. I will note that we understand that the size of that district is not compliant with DHCD's guidelines, but that the board feels that it is still compliant with the law. So that's the action plan I will submit. And I will state that the board wants to see the effect of what it's already done before it considers expanding the Mumford district, and there has no immediate plans to do so in the future. So if there's anything else you'd like me to add, let me know. Otherwise, that's the report that I'll file.
I have nothing to add. Anyone else?
Sounds great, Nora. Thank you.
It looked good. It looks good, Nora. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that's the end of your agenda. You have a meeting on February 7th. As I mentioned, you have 5 public hearings, and then the public hearing that you continued. And then on top of that, the zoning amendment public hearing. So there'll actually be 7 public hearings on February 7th. And then your meeting after that is on March 7th. So
everything we have is a
good
public
night's
hearing?
rest on February 6th.
Everything's a public hearing on the 7th?
Everything's a public hearing, yes.
And Nora, when's the next time we go before FinCom?
February 28th. And that's for their first public hearing. So you'll have your first public hearing on February 7th, where you discuss all of your zoning articles, get them in pretty good form, but not their final version, but as comfortable as you are with them, and then go and discuss them with the Finance and Warrant Commission at their hearing on February 28th. And then you can come back to your March 7th meeting, continue your discussion of your warrant articles at that meeting as well, and then report back with your final version of all of the articles to the Finance and Warrant Commission on March 28th.
And just as a side note, at the end of March, we lose the ability to hold these meetings via Zoom, right?
That's right.
As it's currently constituted, that's right.
Right. So you have meetings on March 7th and March 21st. Those meetings will be on Zoom. And if nothing changes, then your first meeting in April, which is April 11th, will be an in-person meeting in the Champagne Meeting Room. If the ability to have remote meetings is extended, I would strongly recommend continuing the remote meetings.
Has DPW cleared out of the back of the
They have
Champagne
not.
meeting room?
No, they have not. I think they're hoping for an extension. The Conservation Commission did hold a live meeting there. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, and it was very tight because they only had half the room. So before the planning board holds hearings there, we will have the room cleared out, but it hasn't been done yet.
Okay. All right. So if that's it, we're ready to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote to adjourn. Josh.
Aye.
Ellen.
Aye.
Kate.
Aye.
Phil.
Aye.
I vote aye also. Thank you, everyone, for your work.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.